All right, so we are going to dive into something pretty fascinating today.
Okay.
We're going to be talking all about pronunciation.
Nice.
And you might think, like, oh, pronunciation, that's kind of basic, is it?
Yeah, you would think that, right?
Like, we've all been working on this for a while.
Yeah.
But actually what we found is that pronunciation is really the key
It is.
to being able to speak fluently and being understood.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to do a deep dive today into some advice on pronunciation.
Okay.
That comes from Learn English with Mr. Concord.
Those guys are great.
I know, they're fantastic.
Yeah, they really know their stuff.
They really are passionate about helping people master the English language.
Yeah.
And so we're going to unpack some of their expert advice.
Sounds good.
And I think you're going to find some of it pretty surprising.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too.
I was pretty surprised.
Because when you think about it, like, what's the most important thing when it comes to, like, speaking another language?
Yeah.
You would think maybe grammar or vocabulary.
Right, exactly.
But research actually shows that pronunciation might be even more important
Oh, wow, really?
than grammar or vocabulary when it comes to being understood.
More important than grammar.
Isn't that wild?
I know that's crazy because I'm always like,
Right.
I know, beating myself up about my grammar.
Yeah.
So are you saying, like, I don't need to worry about grammar anymore?
No.
Okay, all right.
We still need to think about grammar.
Okay.
But I think what this research highlights is that, like,
Right.
if people can't understand what you're saying,
Right.
it doesn't matter if your grammar's perfect.
Oh, that's true.
And it doesn't matter if you have this huge vocabulary.
If you're saying words wrong,
Yeah,
they're not going to understand you.
it's all for nothing.
Wow.
So, yeah,
That's a really good point.
it's a game changer.
It is a game changer.
And we've all had those moments, right?
I
Where
have.
we mispronounce something
Totally.
and it leads to a total communication breakdown.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine trying to order 3 apples and you end up saying, like, tree apples.
Oh, like, I'll take tree.
Exactly.
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
Small slip, big misunderstanding.
Exactly.
So, okay, so we need to work on our pronunciation.
We do.
What's the first step?
Well, Mr. Concord and his team have some great advice.
Okay.
And the first thing they emphasize, and I have to say this surprised me a little bit at first,
Okay.
is the importance of listening.
Oh, really?
Like, that's the foundation.
Interesting.
You need to train your ear before you can train your tongue.
That makes sense.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Before you can speak clearly,
Right?
you need to be able to recognize the nuances of English pronunciation.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, think of it like learning a musical instrument.
Okay.
Like, you need to hear the notes
Right.
before you can play them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you have to immerse yourself in English.
So are you saying we should, like, all just become professional eavesdroppers now?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
But listening to English as much as possible is key.
So, like, what movies, podcasts?
Livy's podcasts.
Yeah.
Even those YouTube rabbit holes that we all fall into,
Oh, yeah.
they can be great for this.
Okay.
The key is to pay attention to how native speakers are pronouncing words.
Right.
The rhythm of their speech,
Right.
the intonation,
Okay.
it all adds up.
So you're saying, like, we should think about the different ways
Yeah.
that people say things?
Totally.
Like, for instance, I'm going to the market.
Yeah.
Someone from the UK would say that differently than someone from the US.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and someone from Australia would say it differently again.
So we should be paying attention to these different sounds.
Yeah, like try to mimic those different accents.
Okay.
That's a fantastic way to train both your ear and your tongue.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
experiment, play around with the sounds, match the tone and rhythm.
Right.
It might feel silly at first,
Yeah.
but it's really effective.
Okay.
And there's also technology that can help us out with this too.
Oh, really? Like what?
There are these great apps like Youglish and Forvo.
Okay, I've heard of those.
Yeah, they're like having a pronunciation dictionary at your fingertips.
Oh, cool.
You can type in any word
Okay.
and you can hear native speakers saying it in different contexts.
Wow, that's really helpful.
It's a gold mine
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to really nail those tricky pronunciations.
Okay, so now that we've got our ears tuned in,
Right.
what's the next step in this pronunciation boot camp?
Well, now we need to break things down a little bit
Okay.
and get to the building blocks of sound,
Okay.
which are phonemes.
Phonemes.
Yes, they're the smallest units of sound in English,
Okay.
and mastering them can seriously transform your pronunciation.
I remember learning about those in like linguistics class,
Yeah.
and it just seemed so abstract to me.
Right.
Like I didn't really understand like how it was applied.
Yeah, it can be a bit hard to grasp.
Yeah, can you give us like a real world example?
Absolutely. So think about the words bat and bet.
Okay, bat and bet.
The only difference between those two words is that one vowel sound in the middle.
Right.
But it makes a huge difference in meaning.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes those subtle vowel and consonant sounds are tricky for us, depending on our native language.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes the sounds in English
Right.
just don't exist in our first language.
Exactly. So practicing those individual vowel and consonant sounds is really important.
Okay.
And a really helpful tool for this is the IPA chart.
Oh, the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Exactly. That can be super helpful because it shows you visually how each sound is produced.
Yeah. There are some good charts online.
Yeah.
And some good apps even that use the IPA.
That's right.
To help you practice.
Yeah.
And speaking of apps,
Yeah.
Mr. Concord's team raved about some apps that can give you personalized feedback on your pronunciation.
Yes.
That sounds super cool.
I know, right?
Like, how does that even work?
Well, there are these apps like Elsa Speak and Speechling.
Okay.
And they're amazing because it's like having a personal pronunciation coach in your pocket.
Oh, wow.
You speak into the app.
Okay.
It analyzes your pronunciation,
Wow.
pinpoints the areas you need to work on,
Wow.
and even provides targeted exercises.
That's amazing.
It's incredible how far technology has come.
It really is.
It is.
It's like your phone becomes your pronunciation sensei.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. And you know what I was thinking?
What's that?
This is a little challenge I came up with for our listeners.
I love a challenge.
Inspired by Mr. Concord and his team.
Okay.
What if you recorded yourself just saying a simple sentence like, the weather is nice today,
Okay.
and then compare that recording to a native speaker's?
Yeah.
And I bet you'd be surprised at some of the subtle differences
I bet you would.
that you hear.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
And you know what? While we're on the topic of fun ways to practice,
Yeah.
we can't forget about tongue twisters.
Oh, tongue twisters.
Yeah.
I love those. She sells seashells by the seashore.
A classic.
Yeah, it's a classic.
And they're not just for kids. They're great for adults too.
Yeah.
Because they're like a workout for your tongue.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
They help you build that muscle memory for those tricky sound combinations.
I need to work on my tongue muscles.
We all do.
I can feel it.
And they're also a great way to improve your clarity and your rhythm.
Okay. She sells seashells by the seashore.
It's harder than it sounds, isn't it?
It is harder than it sounds.
It is.
Any other pro tips for tongue twisters?
Well, here's one. You can take a simple sentence like, I like to eat apples.
Okay.
You just start by saying it really slowly,
Okay.
like focusing on each sound.
I like to eat apples.
Exactly. And then gradually you can speed up,
Oh.
but make sure you're keeping the pronunciation clear.
So it's about training your tongue to like move smoothly
Exactly.
through those sounds.
Yeah, like a tongue workout.
Yeah. I like that.
It is.
Okay. So we've got listening.
Yes.
We've got phonemes. We've got technology. We've got tongue twisters.
It's a lot.
We're like pronunciation ninjas now.
We are.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
We haven't even talked about how culture shapes pronunciation.
That's right. Because it's not just about mastering the individual sounds.
Right.
It's also about understanding that certain words
Yeah.
can be pronounced differently depending on where you are in the English-speaking world.
Oh, give us an example.
Okay, so take the word schedule, for instance.
Okay, schedule.
In British English, it's often pronounced schedule.
Oh, schedule.
But in American English, it's more like schedule.
Skill.
Same word, different sound.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
It is.
So what's the best way to like navigate these regional differences?
Well, I think it's more about awareness.
Okay.
Like expose yourself to different accents, pay attention to the variations.
Right.
And you can even try practicing both.
Oh, so like British and American.
Yeah.
Okay.
The more versatile you are, the better you'll be able to communicate with people from all over.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've got listening, tech tools, tongue twisters, cultural nuances. Like, we've got this whole pronunciation toolkit.
We do.
But before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
All right.
I want to talk about something that I think is super important.
Okay. What's that?
And that's confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, we can have all the techniques in the world,
Right.
but if we don't feel confident,
Yeah.
it's all for nothing.
You're absolutely right. Confidence plays a huge role
Yeah.
in how we speak and how we're perceived by others.
Totally.
When you feel confident in your pronunciation,
Right.
you're more likely to speak clearly,
Yeah.
fluently, and engage in conversations without hesitation.
Absolutely.
So it's really important.
It is. And you know, one thing that Mr. Concord's team emphasized
Okay.
was this idea that we shouldn't aim for perfection.
That's right.
You should aim for being understood.
Yeah.
Like even native English speakers have accents. It's what makes language so interesting.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it adds to the diversity
Yeah.
of English.
Your unique pronunciation adds personality to your speech.
It does.
So embrace it.
Yes.
Like don't try to sound like a robot.
Right. You want to sound like you.
Be yourself.
Exactly.
Express yourself.
Yeah.
So what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is this.
Okay.
We've talked about how pronunciation can be even more important than grammar or vocabulary when it comes to being understood.
That was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, it really makes you think differently about how you approach language learning.
Totally. And it makes you realize that there's a lot more to pronunciation than just getting the individual sounds right.
There is.
What else is there?
Well, think about it this way. Language is like music.
Oh, okay. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not just about pronouncing each word perfectly in isolation?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about how you string those words together.
Okay.
How you create a rhythm. That makes your speech engaging and easy to understand.
So like the flow.
Yes, exactly. The flow. And we call these elements rhythm, intonation, and stress.
Okay, break that down for me.
All right. So rhythm is all about the timing and pacing of your speech.
Okay.
Like where do you pause? Where do you speed up?
Right.
It's about creating a natural flow.
Yeah.
Intonation is the rise and fall of your voice.
Oh, okay.
Like how your pitch changes as you speak.
Right.
And stress is about emphasizing certain syllables or words within a sentence.
Okay.
So it's like you're adding a little bit of emphasis
Yeah.
to certain parts of the sentence.
I'm seeing a theme here.
What's that?
Like music.
Yes.
Like it's like we're learning to dance with language.
That's a great analogy.
It's not just about the individual steps.
Right.
It's about like the flow and the energy of the movement.
Exactly. And just like with dancing, the more you practice,
Right.
the more natural those rhythms and intonation patterns will become.
And remember that tip about singing? That can really help with this, right?
Absolutely.
I'm thinking like karaoke night is my new English class.
I love it.
Okay, but what about stress?
Okay, so stress.
Like how do we know which words to emphasize in a sentence?
So stress is really powerful.
Okay.
Because it can actually change the meaning of a sentence.
Oh, wow.
It can highlight important information, or it can even convey emotions.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So in English, we typically stress content words,
Okay.
like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs.
Okay.
And the little words like articles, prepositions, and conjunctions.
Right.
We usually don't stress those.
Okay, so in the sentence, I went to the store today,
Yeah.
we emphasize went store and today.
Exactly.
But not the I too or the...
Exactly.
Okay.
And that pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables,
Right.
that's what creates that natural rhythm that we were talking about.
Oh, it's like a secret code.
It is.
Once you understand how stress works, you can unlock the rhythm of English
Yes, you can.
and start to sound more natural.
Much more natural. Exactly.
That's fantastic.
And the great thing is, stress patterns often follow predictable rules.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for example, in two-syllable nouns,
Okay.
the stress usually falls on the first syllable.
Okay.
So think about words like table window.
Table window.
Exactly.
Okay.
But with two-syllable verbs,
Okay.
it's usually on the second syllable.
Okay.
So like decide, reply.
Decide, reply.
Exactly.
So there are patterns
There are.
that we can learn.
Yes.
This is making me feel a lot more confident about mastering stress.
Good. I'm glad.
Okay, so we've covered rhythm and stress and intonation.
We have.
But what about accents?
Oh, accents.
Like, I have to admit, sometimes I feel self-conscious about my accent.
Yeah.
Is it really okay to have an accent when speaking English?
Of course it is.
Really?
Yeah, accents are a natural part of language.
Okay.
They reflect our cultural and linguistic background.
Right.
And they add so much richness and diversity
Yeah.
to the way English is spoken around the world.
Yeah. It's like your fingerprint.
It is.
It's like a unique part of who you are.
It's a part of your identity.
Yeah.
And remember, even native English speakers have accents.
Oh, that's true.
There are British accents, American accents, Australian accents, Canadian accents. The list goes on.
So it's not about erasing your accent.
No.
It's about seeing it as like a valuable part of your identity.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
It is.
Okay, but how do we build that confidence?
All right, so how do we build confidence?
Especially when we're still working on our pronunciation.
Practice, practice, practice.
Oh, of course.
The more you use English, the more comfortable you'll become.
Yeah.
So record yourself speaking, listen back,
Okay.
and see where you can improve.
Right.
Practice with friends.
Yeah.
Family language partners.
Right.
anyone who will listen.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to join online conversation groups or language exchange programs.
Get out there and use the language.
Exactly.
Even if it's scary.
Even if it's scary.
And make mistakes.
Yes. Make mistakes. That's how we learn.
That's how we learn.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things.
Yeah.
Step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
You know, it's funny. I used to think of my accent as like this barrier.
Yeah.
Something that was separating me from native speakers.
Right.
But what if we saw it as a bridge instead?
I love that.
A way to connect with people from different cultures.
Yeah.
And share our unique perspectives
Exactly.
into the world.
I love that analogy.
So it's not a barrier.
Yeah.
It's a bridge.
It's a bridge.
Our accents are a testament to our journey, our experiences.
Yes.
Our connection to the wider world.
I love that.
And as we continue to learn and grow, our accents will evolve too.
They will.
Right.
They'll change over time.
They'll become a reflection of our commitment to language learning.
That's right.
Our willingness to embrace new challenges.
Yeah.
And our openness to connecting with people from all walks of life.
It's an ongoing journey.
It is.
But it's a journey worth taking.
I love that.
Me too.
So, to all of our listeners out there.
Yes.
As you embark on your own pronunciation adventure.
Yeah.
Remember this. You have a voice.
Yes, you do.
And it deserves to be heard.
Absolutely.
Embrace your accent. Celebrate your progress.
Yes.
And never stop exploring this wonderful world of English pronunciation.
Could not have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.
See you then. Well, we were talking about how pronunciation can be even more important than grammar or vocabulary when it comes to being understood.
It was mind-blowing.
It really was, huh?
Yeah.
It really does make you rethink how you approach learning a language.
It does. It highlights how much more there is to pronunciation than just getting the individual sounds right.
There is.
So what else is there?
Well, think about it this way. Language is like music.
Okay.
It has its own rhythm, its own melody, and its own flow.
I like this. So are you saying it's not just about like pronouncing each word perfectly in isolation?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about how you string those words together.
Right.
How you create a rhythm
that
makes your speech engaging and easy to understand.
So like the flow.
The flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we call these elements rhythm, intonation, and stress.
Okay. Break those down for me.
Okay. So rhythm is all about the timing and pacing of your speech.
Okay.
So where you pause, where you speed up.
Right.
It's about creating that natural flow.
Okay.
Intonation is the rise and fall of your voice.
Yeah.
How your pitch changes as you speak.
Right.
And stress is about emphasizing certain syllables or words within a sentence.
So it's like you're adding like a little bit of extra emphasis.
A little bit of emphasis, to certain parts.
Of the sentence.
Of the sentence, exactly.
Okay. So I'm seeing a theme here.
What's that?
Music.
Yeah.
It's like we're learning to dance with language.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
Yeah, it's not just about the individual steps.
Right.
It's about the flow and the energy of the movement.
Yeah, exactly. And just like with dancing, the more you practice, the more natural those rhythms and intonation patterns will become.
So will we be good dancers by the time this episode is over?
I hope so.
All right. And remember that tip about singing?
Oh, yes.
That can really help with this, right?
Absolutely.
Karaoke night is my new English class.
I love that idea.
Okay, but what about stress?
Okay, so stress.
How do we know which words to emphasize in a sentence?
Okay, so stress is a really powerful tool in English.
Okay.
Because it can change the meaning of a sentence.
Wow.
It can highlight important information, or it can even convey emotions.
Really?
Yeah. So in English, we typically stress what are called content words.
Yeah.
Like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs.
Okay.
And the little words like articles, prepositions, conjunctions.
Right.
We usually don't stress those.
Okay, so in the sentence, I went to the store today.
Yes.
We would emphasize went to the store and today.
Exactly.
But not I to the Mela.
Exactly. And that pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables is what creates that natural rhythm.
Oh, it's like a secret code.
It is a secret code.
Once you understand how stress works, you can unlock the rhythm of English.
You can unlock the code. Yes.
And start to sound more natural.
Exactly. And the great thing is stress patterns often follow predictable rules.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For example, in 2-syllable nouns, the stress usually falls on the first syllable.
Okay.
So think about words like table, window.
Table, window.
Exactly.
Okay.
But with 2-syllable verbs, it's usually on the second syllable.
Oh, okay.
So like Decide reply.
Decide reply.
Exactly.
So there are patterns.
There are patterns.
That we can learn.
Yes.
This is making me feel a lot more confident about mastering stress.
I'm glad to hear that.
We've covered rhythm and intonation and stress.
We have.
But what about accents?
Yes, accents.
Sometimes I'm a little self-conscious about my accent.
Yeah.
Is it really okay to have an accent when I'm speaking English?
Of course it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Accents are a natural part of language. They reflect our cultural and linguistic background.
Right.
And they add so much richness and diversity to the way English is spoken all around the world.
It's like your fingerprint.
It is like a fingerprint.
It's a unique part of who you are.
It's part of your identity.
Yeah.
And remember, even native English speakers have accents.
That's true.
You know, British accents, American accents, Australian accents, Canadian accents. The list goes on and on.
So it's not about erasing your accent.
No.
It's about seeing it as a valuable part of who you are.
It is a part of your identity.
That's so cool.
I think so too.
Okay, but how do we build that confidence?
How do we build confidence?
Especially when we're still working on our pronunciation.
Practice, practice, practice.
Oh, of course.
The more you use English, the more comfortable you will become with it.
Okay.
So record yourself speaking, listen back to it.
Right.
See where you can improve.
Yeah.
Practice with friends, family language partners, anyone who will listen.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to join online conversation groups or language exchange programs.
Get out there and use the language.
Exactly.
Even if it's scary.
Even if it feels scary at first.
And make mistakes.
And make mistakes, because that is how we learn.
That's how we learn.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things. Step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
You know, it's funny. I used to think of my accent as like this barrier.
Yeah.
Like it was separating me from native speakers.
Right.
But what if we saw it as a bridge instead?
I love that.
A way to connect with people from other cultures.
Yes.
And share our own unique perspectives with the world.
I love that analogy.
So it's not a barrier.
It's not a barrier.
It's a bridge.
It's a bridge to connection.
Our accents are a testament to our journey.
They are.
Our experiences, our connection to the wider world.
Beautifully said.
And as we continue to learn and grow, our accents will evolve too.
They will.
Right.
They will change over time.
They'll become a reflection of our commitment to language learning.
That's right.
Our willingness to embrace new challenges. And our openness to connecting with people from all walks of life.
It's an ongoing journey.
It is.
But it is a journey worth taking.
I love that.
Me too.
So to all our listeners out there,
yes,
as you embark on your pronunciation adventure,
yes,
remember this, you have a voice.
You do.
And it deserves to be heard.
It does.
Embrace your accent, celebrate your progress.
Yes.
And never stop exploring this wonderful world of English pronunciation.
Beautifully said. I love that.
Wow, what an amazing journey it is.
It is.
To learn English pronunciation.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
We talked about the importance of listening.
Right.
We talked about mastering those tricky phones.
Yes.
We talked about using tech tools like pronunciation ninjas.
Exactly.
We've done tongue twisters.
Yeah.
We've embraced those cultural variations.
Right.
And of course, we talked about building confidence. So important.
But as we wrap things up,
yeah,
do you have any final words of wisdom?
I do.
Okay.
For someone who is really serious about like leveling up their pronunciation, well, I think the most important thing is to be patient.
Okay.
Pronunciation is a skill.
Right.
That takes time and consistent effort.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged if you don't sound like a native speaker overnight.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
It's a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
Keep practicing, stay curious, and you will see progress.
I love that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Consistency is key.
It is.
And I think it's important to remember that every little bit of effort
yes.
that you make brings you closer to your goal.
It does.
It all adds up.
It does.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Right? There are so many amazing teachers and tutors and language partners and online communities that are there to support you.
Absolutely. And they want to help.
Yeah. You don't have to do this alone.
You don't.
And remember those tech tools we talk about?
It's like having a pronunciation coach.
Right in your pocket.
Available 24/7.
I know. It's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Technology is amazing.
It is.
And another tip I would give is make pronunciation practice a part of your daily routine.
Oh, okay.
Even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes.
So like how can people sneak in these mini practice sessions?
Well, think about all those little pockets of time you have throughout the day.
Okay.
You know, listen to an English podcast on your commute.
Right.
Practice some tongue twisters while you're doing the dishes.
Okay.
Sing along to your favorite English songs in the shower.
I like that one.
You can even turn those daily conversations into practice opportunities.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I found that sometimes the best way to really solidify a new concept is to try and teach it to someone else.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So if you have friends or family who are also learning English,
yes,
offer to help them with their pronunciation.
Yeah, because when you explain something to someone else,
right,
it forces you to think about it more deeply.
Yeah.
And can really help you to cement that understanding for yourself.
Totally. And it's fun to practice together.
It is. It's more fun to learn with other people.
Yeah. And you can keep each other motivated.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, dear listener.
Yes.
It seems we've reached the end of our pronunciation deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the why,
yes,
the how, and the what now.
The what now.
But the biggest takeaway I hope you're walking away with is this.
What's that?
You have the power to transform your pronunciation.
You do?
With dedication.
Yes.
A willingness to experiment.
Keep trying new things.
Yeah, and a little sprinkle of fun along the way.
Yes, make it fun.
You can achieve your pronunciation goals.
Absolutely.
And unlock a whole new level of confidence and fluency.
I love it.
So go out there and speak your world.
Yes, speak your world.
Embrace the journey.
Yeah.
Celebrate your progress.
Absolutely.
And never stop exploring this amazing world of English pronunciation.
Beautiful.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.